What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Blitz Fantasy Football. My name is Ryan Linkler. I'm here with Danny Carpenter, the fantasy football guru. We're talking about our biggest risers from the early OTAs. We know training camp still a little bit away. We're not going to get great reads on those guys, but we do have some information to work off of, and this information is going to help us, tackle some of these players who are rising up draft boards right now, and we understand why. Let's start off with the most simple one. It is Rashee Rice. Danny, why don't you talk about Rashee Rice's potential rise in fantasy football here?
What he did at the beginning of last season before getting hurt was huge. He was Patrick Mahomes' guy because Kelsey was kind of in the background at the time of the beginning of the season. But if he's healthy, he's going to see 8, 9, 10 targets a game, and that's huge in fantasy right there. Even with all the other guys they have in that offense, he's still probably going to be the guy Mahomes probably looks to the most.
Yeah, it's interesting for sure. I mean, you have like the 15.96 points per game over the last 13 games for him. That's wide receiver one production you're getting from Rashee Rice. And I mean, even last year was even better. Like he was around 18 points almost every single game, getting 8 to 9 targets per game. He's a bigger type. I don't want to call him a true slot receiver because he does play on the outside a lot more than a true slot, but he plays in the slot in this offense. He's an underneath route receiver. He kind of reminds me his tape of like Cooper Kupp in his prime for Seattle. Like he has the ability to work after the catch. He has the ability to really work well underneath on those routes. And that works well within this Chiefs offense where teams have completely tried to take away the deep ball and they've relied on checkdowns more. And it's worked out well for Rashee Rice, who also has the complement of Travis Kelce around him, which opens things up for him. So that's very nice for Rashee Rice. And it looks like as far as the suspension goes, it's not going to happen this year. They still have ongoing stuff in court about it, and it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. But in 2025, it's not going to happen. And on Sleeper right now, his ADP is at 42.6. With all the news coming out and the positives that he's going to be a full go for training camp, Rashee Rice is almost certain going to jump up draft boards and going to be a second, third round pick. I think he's well worth an end of a second throw. I mean, he's a wide receiver one. If he didn't have injury problems coming off from last year, or if he didn't have legal problems, this guy would be viewed right around there regardless of the torn ACL last year. So I think with Rashee, it's more about trusting the production in him and just saying, like, look, this guy is not going to get suspended this year. Don't be worried about that. Go make the investment in a wide receiver one in the back half of the third. Let's talk about our next guy here. Pop Douglas from the New England Patriots. Is this the next slot receiver in Josh McDaniels' offense?
Slot receivers reign supreme in his offenses. When Brady was there, he always had somebody there in the slot for him. And he always had like a Moss or somebody big on the outside helping, but the slot receivers are the guys that saw the big numbers. And Douglas can fill that role easily. And he's proven with some big games in the past. His thing is, if he can stay healthy, he could be easily a high-end wide receiver 2 or possibly even slide into the late wide receiver 1 range probably by the end of the season.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting with him for sure, as you got, with Pop Douglas, that he has a clear opportunity to winning snaps in this offense. He's a slot guy. No one's competing on the Patriots for slot snaps. Like they're all competing for that X and Y position and Z position in that offense. And you know that Stephon Diggs, Kyle Williams, Mac Hollins is in that room. Booty's in that room as well. Like they have a good competition going on for those outside receiver slots. They aren't taking any snaps in the slot. And we've seen this slot position in Josh McDaniels' offense have consistent production. Like they are getting 6 to 7 targets per game. I think Douglas is more viable in PPR formats. And it's been a clear thing out of training camp that Pop Douglas has been an early favorite of Drake May and an early favorite of this new coaching staff as they try to build something better about New England than what's been going on these past few seasons. So with Pop Douglas, and you're in a PPR league and he starts to rise up a little bit, don't be worried about it. Pop does have that consistent upside potential of a slot receiver in Josh McDaniels' offense. So invest in Pop Douglas for sure. Let's talk about some of the bigger news this week. This past week, I should say now, is Aaron Rodgers signing with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Danny, is DK Metcalf a potential wide receiver one or no?
I think it can be. Right now, he's overall 50th in our rankings. I have him, and he's 24th in our rankings. I think easily he could finish as a wide receiver 2, possibly pushing into the wide receiver 1. And if Rodgers gets hot with him and finds end zone targets for him and stuff, the Steelers offense actually can run well as a season and run well in the red zone. It could be huge. I mean, Rodgers last year had 2 guys that were top 16 wide receivers, and Devontae Adams and Garrett Wilson. So he only has to focus on one guy in Pittsburgh because there's nobody really else that's going to stand out in that offense to take targets away from Metcalf. And if Metcalf can get 130 targets, the 3 years he had 129 or more targets in Seattle, he was a wide receiver 2 easily about all 3 of those years. So the possibilities of him having a big year are right there on the cusp.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting too when you take a look at it is that when Metcalf got inserted into this team, they had George Pickens still, and we know that Arthur Smith is hard in terms of production at the wide receiver position. He's very frustrating for a fantasy football guy for sure, but with DK Metcalf going over there and he being the only main receiver, I know they have Calvin Austin, I know they have some smaller pieces in that receiver room. Doesn't worry me. Aaron Rodgers excites me. Like they could have had Mason Rudolph rolling out in this offense. It's only like I guess we were pricing Metcalf with Aaron Rodgers, but it makes me even more excited knowing the fact that Aaron Rodgers has continued to produce really solid wide receiver production almost in his entire career, except for his last year in Green Bay. So seeing Metcalf paired up with Aaron Rodgers and no other target competition, it makes me super, super excited for DK Metcalf to, showcase a little bit of a ceiling that we haven't seen for the Seattle Seahawks over these past few years. It always feels like his upside's been capped because other guys have been there to take away his targets. That's not the case here in Pittsburgh this year. Obviously, they're going to lean on the ground game. That's a given. But I think that Metcalf is going to have enough volume to be a sneaky, sneaky wide receiver, and he's going to be a guy that rises up my draft boards just a little bit with the Aaron Rodgers signing. Let's talk about the Indianapolis Colts. We got Tyler Warren, who is a little bit of a riser with the news that Daniel Jones has been the most impressive quarterback at OTAs so far. We had the Anthony Richardson injury, and Danny, we know that Danny Dimes likes to target the tight ends. Tell us why Tyler Warren can live up to his potential and actually have a solid season in fantasy.
I think Jones kind of favors the tight ends because it's just a go-to guy for him. He looks for something over the middle. He doesn't see he's one of those guys he's first look, see, not open, go to my check down guy, and check down guy's always been his tight ends. And Warren, he's a big dude. I mean, what more can you ask from a tight end? You're going to be that big old target across the middle when somebody else is not open, or if he's scrambling, Warren's one of those guys who can get open for him and be a check down guy for him.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting. I mean, look, their receiver room is loaded in general. There is so much talent, like Adonai Mitchell, Josh Downs is mixed in there, Michael Pittman Jr., Alec Pierce. Like there's a lot of weapons in this Colts offense that they can choose from, and none of them are tight ends though. Like the tight end is still going to receive the production that it gets with Danny Dimes at quarterback, maintaining a pretty solid target share. You know that Shane Steichen had some really good years with Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert and Philly as well. I think that with this team, the Colts, they desperately need that security blanket. These receivers are really good, vertical threats. I think Michael Pittman's very good intermediate. I think Tyler Warren can be a little bit do-it-all, a guy at Penn State that we saw even run the ball at times.
Exactly.
Listen, they had the Anthony Richardson packages in there for Anthony Richardson to run the ball. Insert Tyler Warren at that position and you can provide similar production. And if that's the reason they're keeping Richardson on the field, they drafted a guy that did similar type of goal line stuff at Penn State, and that's Tyler Warren. I think with Tyler Warren, if Danny Dimes is the quarterback, he becomes one of my favorite targets in my draft because I know the player is incredibly talented, and he's in a situation now where the targets are going to be falling his way, and we don't know how good this Colts team is going to be. I have them as a little bit of a sleeper, but it looks like they're going to be one of the least competitive teams, in the AFC side of things for a Super Bowl. So we'll see what happens. I think Warren could receive more targets than people expect this year. Let's head to our last player, and this might be the sleeper of sleepers, Dante Thornton from the Las Vegas Raiders. Listen, there are 3 receivers in NFL history that are 6'5" and run a 4.3. Randy Moss, Calvin Johnson, Dante Thornton. Tell us why the Las Vegas Raiders 5th-round rookie could be a really good producer in fantasy.
Because those other 2 guys are Hall of Famers. Plain and simple. I mean, what else more can you ask for? They both of them, if he can live up to the hype of being that big and with his speed and being able to get open and catch the ball in the NFL, he's going to excel. I mean, the Raiders offense, they got Bowers, they got Jacoby, they have Genty at the running back now. They got a competent quarterback with Geno now. So they should have opportunities to be able to take advantage of his size and speed. And if he can do that, I mean, there's times, I remember when Moss came out his rookie year, played against Dallas on Thanksgiving Day, he caught 3 passes for 160 yards and 3 touchdowns. I mean, if you can do that for one guy, that's a great week for having a tall, fast wide receiver. I mean, what more can you ask for?
Yeah. 100%. And like the guy averaged 2.7 yards per route run in college, which is a crazy number, 6 catches of 50 plus yards. This guy is an over the top burner. And the reason why it excites me so much is I know he's not competing for snaps against Jacoby Myers
No.
in that slot position. You know who is? Jack Beck, who their second round pick.
Yeah.
And I think Thornton has a clearer path to playing than Beck this year. I mean, we've seen Thornton already take reps with the number ones this year. And we've seen that, in these Seattle type offenses, you have DK Metcalf all the time, that downfield big threat. Thornton fits the mold in my eyes. He fits the mold.
Yes.
And seems like the last piece this Raiders offense need is that big, over the top, deep threat type of player. Thornton will be on the field. Thornton will find a way to get these key valuable touches that could be really productive in fantasy football. It doesn't seem like he's a guy that goes before 12 or 13 when it comes to draft season. And I think it's absolutely worth taking a shot on. He could be a really solid, viable flex in a lot of weeks. I'm not saying he'll be consistent. I think he'll be incredibly volatile, but he is a deep, deep sleeper that keeps rising. And if he has a really good training camp and preseason as well, this guy is going to the absolute moon among the fantasy community. There are our biggest risers from OTAs. Make sure you guys stay tuned for more Blitz Sports Media content when we are dropping it on this channel. We got premium memberships out now from live draft help from me and Danny throughout the season and more premium stats to help you guys win your leagues. Make sure you check that out below. If not, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and me and Danny will catch you guys next time.